About how did you find your first few clients? If for anyone that wants to get into this trade, like chimney, fireplaces, masonry, concrete, kind of all fall in the same category. If they didn't have the kind of experience that you had, would they still be okay to start the business? Like, how did you find your first few clients? It's a different kind of trade where you actually have to know the crux of it, like the actual technical. Because I mean, you're dealing with fire, aren't you? Like, it's fire. You obviously, since we started working with you, now you're in 3 different states, right? So what kind of triggered that expansion? Did you always want to, expand into different states and market?
This is like home ground, Georgia. Super competitive. A lot of other chimney companies out here, and it's not that cold, so it's a great market. It's the best market in the Southeast. Everybody's trying for it, The reason why I really source out North Carolina and that Western North Carolina was
a lot of contractors kind of shy away from that, or they're like, okay, well, we're gonna generate leads organically. Obviously, when you started picking up jobs after you got done with your shift and then you started the business, what triggered that? What's the mindset behind that? And what would you say to those that are kind of apprehensive on spending on marketing?
You have to put the money into something for it to have an outcome. You can look at that in any way in life. There's multiple other things like real estate, investing, even down to stock markets and Bitcoin. If you're scared to put your money where your mouth is, you're never going to take that next step. You've got to spend what you need to get to the point that you want to be.
Hello and welcome to the Roofing and Home Services Industry Podcast. Today I have one of our clients with us, Patrick Archer from Archer Chimneys and Exteriors. We want to start with introduction. So Patrick, if you want to tell us what you do, the name of your business, and where you're located.
Oh yes, so what we do is we're obviously Archer Chimneys and Exteriors. We mainly specialize in chimneys, fireplaces, repairs, inspections, new installations. We also do a little bit of roofing. I would say a little bit, enough to where, we've done a lot. And then we do some exteriors, windows, all types of siding, all types of stuff. The main bucket of tea is fireplaces. I've been in the industry for a bit of years. I worked for other companies, worked for family-owned companies, corporate companies, and then just kind of got my foot in the water, I'd say. Starting off slowly, I started doing some roofing on the side, handyman job. I was like, man, I can make $500 a day. Christmas was good. I was like, okay. Started, I was like, because I had a non-compete. I was like, I don't really want to get my foot in the water, with the chimney stuff, and then ended up just quitting, tired of just being underpaid. I felt like for what I was doing, training, sales, technician work, was ready to go out on my own. Started off kind of small, a helper here and there, not working all the time. It was mostly like a part-time thing. Just kept going with it. Then now I'm here today.
How long have you been in the business? How long have you had the business? And
it's our 4th year. I've been in the industry 12 years, something like that. No, 10 years, yeah. 10 years, almost 11 years. I feel like I got a decent amount of experience. I work with some guys. That's John's 36 years of experience that works with us. Scott's like 20 plus. So a lot of guys I've worked around with, I think, has made my expertise with this niche, we call it, a lot more. So I'm 10, 11 years, but in reality, in my headspace, I'm 20, 30 years, just because the people I've worked with, the stuff I've seen, and all the places I've traveled, different states doing chimneys too. Is you see a brand down here or a type of fireplace here, go to another state, and it's like a whole nother league. What is this unmarked fireplace? There's not even a code for it. Go, hush, hush, and walk out, pretty much. Okay, I never saw it.
I want to ask you a question about how did you find your first few clients? And if for anyone that wants to get into this trade, like chimney, fireplaces, masonry, concrete, kind of all fall in the same category. If they didn't have the kind of experience that you had, would they still be okay to start the business like this? How did you find your first few clients?
To be honest with you, Nextdoor helped me a lot when I first started. A lot of people are familiar with it. It's just an app. You go on there free. You don't have to pay for any advertising. You don't have to have money. You go on there and say, hey, I have a skill set for this. Hey, I can help with this. People were asking questions like, who do you guys know that can sweep a chimney? So I invested and bought this chimney rods, and you can get them cheap. But I always got these nicer rods, hammer equipment, corporate company I work for. I'd go and, offer $150, $199. Can't remember what I did. Cheaper than any company. And I'd go out and, sweep a chimney and then inspect it and tell them, hey, you need to fix this and this. And then a small job led to a big job. And then I got first couple jobs, and then I just kind of going off that. And like I said, it wasn't like I was super busy or anything. I was doing it part-time. So when I would get off work, I'd go do a couple chimneys. 4 or 5 o'clock, I'd go inspect the chimney here one day, another day. Probably 4 or 5 a week. That's how I started. And then I'd get a job or 2 off of each one, kind of go from there.
So the side hustle became the main hustle.
Right, yeah. And for anyone trying, I guess, get in the industry, to me, one important step is to get certified. No one ever taught me when I worked for a local company that I didn't even know there was a certification chimneys. I don't think anyone knows really that unless you do the research.
Yeah, I had no idea.
It's crazy. And there's different certifications like NFI, CSIA, CCP is like the foot in the door. So it's like you get a badge and you can say, hey, I'm certified. Super easy class. You literally sit there for 1 hour and watch a video with the guy that teaches it to you, and then you take the test. I thought it was open notes, so I had written down like a whole page. I'm like a horrible test taker. So so I'm like writing down like a whole page of notes. I'm like, okay, I can use these. He's like, yep, go ahead, close that book. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to fail. I knew enough about it, 87. So I got my first, and that was my second day working for a corporate company. I had been doing it 4 or 5 years up to that point. So I knew a little bit about it, you know. But another thing is like just getting your foot in the door and kind of getting like some experience with it. Most of these people that you talk to have no idea what you're talking about when you go to their house. You really have to have pictures explain the process of what you would do to repair or install. It takes years. This story always stuck out to me. So I never did sales till I got chimneys. I was at this guy's house. They're like, yeah, go out there. And he couldn't make it, this other sales guy. They're like, go out there and just try to sell, see what's going on with it. So I'm doing the inspection, completely messed up, like pouring in their house. Chimney needed a rebuild. Fireplace was toast. It was actually 2 guys living together. And I was like, walked outside. I was calling David. I was like, send him all the pictures. Like, what do you think I should price this at? He's like, I tell him 15, 15,000. I was like, I'm gonna go 25. And I walked inside, presented it, and they were like, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. And that was my first job I ever sold, was a $25,000 job. Not a pan, not a $1,000 job. It was $25,000. From there, they were like, okay, well, you're in sales now. Half the time when I first started, I didn't even know what I was selling. I would just start saying like gibberish things and different names and stuff. You just kind of go from there. Sometimes it will work. Sometimes, people will catch on to like you not knowing what you're talking about. And not everyone knows what they're saying, but you'll run into some people that have done research. So that's where my expertise now pays off. I can go out to someone's house and like they're technical. I can be really technical and show them that I really know what I'm talking. Guys that first get in the industry, like I have a guy, sales guy, DJ, really good, caught on really fast. But the technical stuff, he struggles with still because he's new. He's only been doing it 3 months, maybe not even that.
So it's a different kind of trade where you actually have to know the crux of it, like the actual technical. Because essentially you're dealing with fire, aren't you? Like it's fire. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there were so many chimney fires this year. It's crazy. Like one of our guys went to an active chimney fire. The wall was reading 2,000 degrees. It kept smoking for over 48 hours. I've been going to a lot of people's houses, especially up in North Carolina, turn the chimney on, freeze and the snow and all that happened, the blizzard up there. People were freaking out. So like we were doing like emergency calls and we were charging, $500-$600 to come out to their house to look at the gas log set. Sometimes it take 5 minutes. Sometimes I'll be there 2 hours. It just depends. But it's scary, because people can lose, especially if the power lines are above ground. You can lose power. And if you don't have like a generator, you're stuck with that power. Like like Hurricane Helene up there in Asheville, they were stuck without power.
Yeah, we had Hurricane Helene too hit Florida.
So you're stuck without power for weeks if you don't have a generator. It's a scary thing, and people freak out about it. And that's where you come in and, hey, this is how you use this. Give them advice. And then if it needs repairs, if it's not safe for use, you advise them on like a way to fix that. So you're like kind of like a problem solver, and also like do new estimates as well and stuff like that.
Well, and you obviously, since we started working with you, now you're in 3 different states, right? So what kind of triggered that expansion? Did you always want to, expand into different states and market?
This is like home ground, Georgia. Super competitive. A lot of other chimney companies out here, and it's not that cold, so it's a great market. It's the best market in the Southeast. Everybody's trying for it, The reason why I really like source out in North Carolina and that Western North Carolina was my wife, she's from Mash. We kind of went up there. I had never been to North Carolina. I went up there, kind of like saw how it was, went to our family's stuff on Christmas a couple years. I was like, man, it's nice out here. And I drove my work truck up one year, Christmas or something, or wrapped or whatever. I had guys coming up to me like, hey, can you help me? Like, are you here? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, they're like, everyone I've talked to is booked out 6 months. I was like, yeah, it must be a good market. So I just started doing research, and it was a really good market. It's like a niche up there because it's a couple companies, but it's not like they're like overworked. There's so many different people and everyone has a fire. Another thing is, a lot of masonry fireplaces are up there. Atlanta sees a lot of prefabs. There's only so much you can do with a prefab. Masonry fireplaces are technically where like all the money's at in the industry. A lot more higher end repairs, rebuilds. Chimney fires occur a lot often. There's a lot of more safety measures with it. So that's another reason like I was fully committed to going up there. It's just more money in particular, more money period really. And then, like same thing, Smoky Mountain, Searville, like over there, it's beautiful. I love the area too. So that's another thing that drives me. I love seeing the views, and it's super cool to work around there.
How did you find people in those markets to actually serve it?
Google ads, people, word of mouth was big when we first started up there. It was like we would go to a neighborhood, do a job, and like people post on a bubble people. I'm like, hey, they did my gas logs. They did a great job. Our first year up there, I had this guy working for me. He was up there mainly the entire winter. He would go in a neighborhood and they're like, we do gas logs out here, then a repair over here. Kept going from there.
Cool. And can you talk about a mistake that kind of shaped you and your business in the last 4 years or 5 years that you've been doing this? Anything that you would have avoided doing in the early years, maybe?
Expanding too fast, trying to put a lot of shift up to like North Carolina. We were very uncoordinated, still working on that. We didn't have a lot of less support, we were moving too fast first instead of keep trying to expand. If you expand too fast, it can go horrible. It can go totally wrong. So you want to kind of like ease it in, but also, push as hard as you can. If you have that drive, I believe that it can be the factor that can set you apart from someone else as well.
One of the things I also liked about you when we started talking, I think probably close to a year ago now, is that you already were investing in marketing, like in ads and Facebook and Google, which, I find a lot of contractors kind of shy away from that, or they're like, okay, well, we're going to generate leads organically. Obviously, when you started picking up jobs after you got done with your shift and then you started the business. So walk me through the journey of you starting to spend. You're spending a decent chunk of money on marketing. So obviously that's helping generate leads. What triggered that? What's the mindset behind that? And what would you say to those that are like kind of apprehensive on spending on marketing?
You have to put the money into something for it to have an outcome. You can look at that in any way in life. There's multiple other things like real estate, investing, even down to like stock markets and Bitcoin. If you're scared to put your money where your mouth is, you're never going to take that next step. You've got to spend what you need to get to the point that you want to be. That's also resulting in not wanting to be that company that has 3 trucks for 70 years and never expands like people I've worked for before. If you want to be something more than what you are, and some people are completely happy with just working a couple days a week, making $5,000 a week or whatever. For me, definitely I could have stayed like that. Could have like a doctor, made $5-10 a week and then been fine and had less overhead and lived a happy life. You're still never going to be the juggernaut of the industry, or never be like what you want to be one day. You'll be stuck at $1 million. That's what I say. There's a difference between $1 million and a $10 million company is they're happy where they're at. They're fine. They have a nice little house, a ranch, maybe even a couple horses. You will never expand, have employees, make a name for yourself. One thing that I've noticed has changed is that people recognize who we are now, and that's a big difference. You like to be like, hey, you guys have great reviews. I've heard about you. I had a lady call me the other day. Well, a lot of your reviews says like it's inspections. I was like, oh, you must have not looked very far into it because we do repairs and installations, So, but yeah, to compete with some of these bigger companies that we're trying to compete against, you have to have that shape, that form of like this juggernaut of a company. So, to get there, you have to spend the money to.
I think a lot of the time that people are afraid, or especially contracting companies, if they've had bad experiences with marketing agencies, with people that they have worked with in the past, and they don't trust that their money will be put to good use. We've obviously had a relationship for a while now, but what I want to ask you is, what would you recommend, or what is the advice that you would give others in your trade when they decide to work with someone? Like, what would be the selection criteria? How would they determine whether or not they should continue that relationship? What kind of criteria would determine that for you, or for people that want to work with a company to handle their marketing? Because marketing is a big effort when you're especially running a business and trying to expand. So what is your advice to those folks?
Definitely, I worked with some marketers before, for you, obviously. And then we got so sick of it where we were like, we're just going to do this ourselves. Paying for a web, you built the website. I get compliments on that, by the way, all the time. I have people that call me like, you have the best website I think I've ever seen. It's awesome, by the way. That's a game changer itself as a website. The website I built, I was like, it gets by.
Well, it did get banned by Google, remember?
The craziest story about how I even found you, I guess we'll just go there. I was on Facebook scrolling. I like to scroll reels and sit there and watch like other contractors. Things pop up on my page. And I saw your video and I was like, man, that's a good video. Like, that's what I kept thinking in my head. I was like, I'm going to give this guy a call. And I know it said roofing, but I'm going to give this guy a call. Like, this is really good. And compared to like other people I had worked with, called like one marketing agency company, I can't remember what they were. They were like North Carolina. I'd call them and, hey, what's going on with this? And it'd be a different person every time. And then it was just like, you're just throwing away. I feel like it would be just throwing away money. And I didn't understand like the whole concept of like what you're spending to what you're doing. And it was like the very bare minimum. And like it would reach like the plateau of the ads, like the spend. And then like there wouldn't be any ads left. So it'd be like the first couple of days of the month would be Google ads and that would be all your money. And I didn't understand that at the time. I feel like the difference was like the connection that we built. Yeah, I was talking to the guy that was actually doing it, which I know necessarily once you grow, it might not always be you talking to people and stuff. But I think that made a big difference in my decision too. I knew it was the right decision when I was having those conversations with you off the rip. The bad experience I had with other ones was just like, basically, I felt like I was throwing away money. It was just pointless. I didn't have an understanding of what they were doing as the differences, which you guys explained everything to me. We're like, hey, what's your budget? What do you want to spend? What do you want to do? How should we market this differently? The game plan went really fast with you guys too. You guys wasted no time, kept everything moving fast. And we obviously saw a dramatic increase in revenue, multi-states and stuff too, which can be hard for marketing to really, know what you're doing. Myself did good how everything connected through, how the ads worked wise. Anyone I worked with was nowhere even close to that. And that's why we just, we'll try this ourselves and we tried our best.
No, it's tough. It's the same thing if I were to do a chimney inspection or a roofing job or anything of that sort, I would just fail miserably because really not my expertise. But I think really what it comes down to is one, transparency for sure, because even we have vendors too, right? We keep them to account if they are working with us. And then the other thing is like connectivity. If you're having whoever you do business with, whether you're doing business with your employees, your vendors, your suppliers, your customers, obviously marketing agency, in this case us, if there's like a big time delay between the time that you ask for something and something gets answered, I think that's also kind of a big setback because you're not really getting the answers that you need. That's one of the things that we really pride ourselves on, is that if someone's asking our questions because they need help and we need to get them that help right away, or at least tell them that, hey, we're working on this, we'll get back to you in a couple of hours. So that's one of the biggest things when we work with clients, is that connectivity is very, very important. So we're kind of getting to the end. We have a rapid fire round. It's actually fun. There's no right or wrong answer. So I just give you a couple of choices and then you pick one. So the first question, wood burning, fireplace, or gas?
Wood.
Okay, why wood?
I'm a pyro. No. Wood is where the money's.
Okay, you go where the money's at. Great answer.
People enjoy a crackle to a fireplace, and it puts a smile on our face when we can make it happen.
Awesome. Chimney rebuild or chimney repair?
I like chimney repairs. We can fix something without breaking someone's bank. So they're ultimately satisfied at the end of the day. Like, hey, you gave me another option compared to 10 other companies I had out here that said, no way we could fix it. Everything's got to go. But we were the ones that came out and actually fixed it for a cost-efficient offer. I obviously like helping people.
Honest chimney guy over here. I think from Archer Chimneys. Give him a call. Historic homes or new construction?
Oh, historic homes. Yeah, hate new construction. I love historic. Older chimneys, 1800s, 1900 chimneys. Going to have issues, going to have problems. I went to a house from the 1812 range, something like that, in Athens, Georgia one time, and she had 10 chimneys. It's like, oh, wow, this is, yeah. She didn't have any money, but she was like, do you guys do financing? Of course, yeah, we do finance. I mean, it was an $80,000 job just fixing the mortar on the chimneys, which is a 2 or 3 day job for $80,000. So like stuff like that, when I see an old chimney and I pull up, I'm like, this old saying, like this, I work with this guy, is like, my mouth starts watering, older chimneys are where we strive in our professional opinion. People listen to more because a lot of times, they're in a historic district or something like that. So they have to keep it the same, or they'll have to keep up with it as well. So, and then they'll try to get it up and working. So, it takes a lot of money to get that going.
Cool. Brick or stone?
I like stonework. So I like really good natural stone, I would say.
Awesome. Residential or commercial project?
Residential. We don't do much commercial, but residential is easier to work with. You're dealing with the actual customer. You have to wait 3 to 6 months for a payment. It's just cut and dry. When you're done, when they're satisfied, get your payment right then and there, which is better. The faster money flow comes in and out is the best way to do it.
This is going to be a tough one. So chimney or fireplace install? If you were to pick between one, which would you pick?
Chimney build, or like what do you mean by that?
A new chimney build versus a new fireplace install?
Probably a new fireplace install, just because usually fireplace installs for us, the 1 day jobs are always the way to go. If a chimney build job, you're going to make less money off it in the long run. But the fireplace installs, you could make anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 a day, for a 1 day job. And then everyone's satisfied, the job's completed and looks good and all that stuff.
You mentioned that you weren't in sales when you started this. Between selling the the job or doing the work? What would you prefer?
Nowadays, I like making sure the job goes right. Going out and doing the inspection process. I do still really truly love a nice day, which I haven't done in many years, going out and doing masonry work. For me, I'd put my headphones in, which you're really not supposed to. But say if I'm working with a guy that's been doing it a long time, like me, I used to have this guy I worked with. We would just know exactly what we were doing every time. So we'd go out and just like get at it, knock it out, and we'd be doing our own separate things. And we're done by like 1 o'clock in the afternoon or something. Then we got the rest of the day to ride back and hang out. It's much more relaxing when you do the job because you don't have to deal with that constant calling, talking to customers. You're just there to do the job. Hello, hey, how are we doing? We're here to do it. And if you know what you're doing, everything's gonna go smooth and you guys are good. So it is a tough question. I would say for me nowadays, it would be more the sales just because I like to make sure everything's done properly. If you talked to me a couple years ago, I'd definitely say doing jobs just because it's prevalent more to easier day, not as much stress, go in and out pretty much.
I mean, you kind of have to almost graduate out of it because, into the sales kind of business development portion of it, because there's only so many jobs you can go to. And once you're, expanding into multiple states, you really have to like be able to manage that expansion more than like being on site.
Go on site to a job very often. I probably haven't do a job in 6 to 8 months. I mean, not even out to their house when they're doing the job. Which, maybe I can start like summertime. I might have some time to come out there, introduce myself. Hey, I'm the owner. Nice to meet you. I've been thinking about doing a little bit of that. I like to stay away from it as much as possible. Oh, you're the owner. Oh, discount. No. The guys that we have doing the jobs, they're super knowledgeable. We have 2 specific crews, Georgia. John and Scott that run those crews. They're top notch. There's no questions asked. Only time I ever hear from them if something's wrong or something like that, and we have to fix it from there. But don't really have any issues out of people we have work. So that's always a great thing.
Would you hire experience, train from scratch?
Tough question there. I've done both. Obviously, but chimneys, if there is a guy with experience, which is not very often, that's also an added plus. I have someone come to my office or something, and they say, hey, I've been doing this 20 years, chimneys. I'm like, go ahead and have a seat. Let's have a seat and talk, figure this out. I had one guy one time, I worked at a company. They were telling me, he was like, yeah, I'm from Kansas City. I've done chimneys for 10 years. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Let's talk a little bit. He was telling me some names and stuff that sounded a little bit familiar. I knew, but I was like, doesn't really make much sense. So when we got in the field with him, it's a funny story. He actually ended up spray painting his eyes shut with spray paint.
Oh my.
Yeah, crazy. And I was like, okay, so this kid maybe worked at a chimney place for like 6 months. I was like, he does not know what he's doing. Yeah, they ended up letting him go and stuff. But training from scratch, I've trained most of our guys from scratch, Chase and some other guys, and you can make them who you want to make them, and that's the best part about it. They've also, I'm a cut people short very quick. If I don't see the potential in it, okay, yeah, I'm not going to invest any more money. Because, when you train for someone from scratch, it's an investment. You're paying these guys to learn, and it takes time sometimes. And if you realize this isn't going to work, you need to cut it fast and short. That's the way I think. Sometimes maybe I don't give enough shot with it. I feel like if they're not going to work out, then why do I spend 30, 50,000 starting, 50, 60,000, whatever it is a year on them if they're not going to put the effort in and learn it to the way that we want them to learn it.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. There's only so much you can do unless someone shows potential. But it's nice that you have the crew to be able to expand and dominate these markets. That's a blessing, I think. Hard to find good people. All right, well, kind of towards the end of the show. So any last thought, any message to your customers, people that are looking to get their chimney inspected or fireplace and kind of waiting on it? What would you say to them?
Yeah, definitely we're the best.
Archer Chimneys, yes.
I feel like we are, like the equivalent of like a corporate and family-owned company combined. We're local, we operated. I'm involved in everything some way or another. I oversee all our projects, all our material. We're not someone that doesn't care. We care about what the process is. We care about the look of it. We don't just we're not there just to make money. We're there. I tell the people this all the time. They think I'm crazy. I had a guy, he's like, well, you're a business. That's why you're here, to make money. I was like, well, to be honest with you, I care more about a good review than a couple $100. Just because we're a business, we need to make money. Yes, but the money will come. Customer base and satisfaction, it takes effort, and anyone can go out and tell them something and make some money. To build a reputation in the industry, especially dealing with fire, safety hazards, and people trust you to come out with your knowledge, that matters more than me to anyone else. So I think that's what separates us from a Mad Hatter or Chimney Solutions, is that we actually genuinely about the process and how we would help them fix their problems, and then try our best to help people. We do a lot of Habitat Humanity, donations, helping people. I had a lady, we cleaned her chimney for free. She had no power and they were going to freeze to death and, save. So, and she didn't have any money, so I was like, no problem. She told me she lived locally. She didn't. She lived far. I drove out and helped her clean her chimney. It was very dirty and it would have caught fire. So like things like that, helping the community near you is super important too, especially if someone's looking at us from like around us, like not from Florida, we're, around you guys, so we are trying to help people in the community as well.
That's awesome. That's really noble. Yeah. Gotta have a heart. Don't sell your heart. Very important. Yeah. I'm glad. Thanks so much for this. Really appreciate the time. This was fun. Learned a lot about the industry and the trades. Yeah. If anybody that looking to get their chimney inspected or fireplace redone, inspected, give Archer Chimneys and Exteriors a shout. They're in the Atlanta metro area. They're also in Asheville, North Carolina, opening up in Gatlinburg, Tennessee area. Drop the links in the comments description section of this video. Patrick, thank you once again for your time and look forward to hanging out again.